of that.
Yeah.
Well, we can get started. Okay, I'll call this special meeting of the Property Committee to order at 9:02. I can certify that open meeting law requirements have been met. Agenda, I don't have a copy either. It was online. I didn't print it off. Yep, okay. Yep, okay. We won't even approve the agenda. Go ahead, Kurt.
It's not on the agenda. There's nothing on there. Certification and then Samuel's group.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well, good morning, everyone. I've handed out the bid tab. Got a couple things I want to go over with you today. First of all is we do have a bid tabulation. We had bid day last Thursday after your regularly scheduled property meeting, so that's why we're meeting here today, to give you a recommendation. I also have a packet here of photos that I want to go over with you after we get the bid. So what I want to do today is to go over the white sheet here, the spreadsheet, and the first page is, this is all bid pack 1. There's a bid pack 2 coming out in July, like I shared with you before. This first page is just for concrete bidders. So we had 3 individuals that bid the concrete. Now, the concrete includes the footings and foundations. There's going to be concrete in bid pack 2, which will be flat work and stairs and site concrete. This is just the footing and foundation concrete, okay? The 3 bidders were Hanson Masonry out of Owen, R.J. Jarowski, which is right out of Whitehall here, and then Fowler Hammer, which is out of La Crosse. You can see that the base bid numbers, Jarowski was the low contractor at $519,450. The second would have been Hanson at $633, and then Fowler was at $762. Now, what you see as an ODIP deduct, what that is, that's the number that we're going to deduct from their contract to pay the premium for ODIP, right? So it's going to cost the project $519, but the $17,000 is going to be deducted from their contract. So their true contract amount will be the $501,750, and then we're going to take the $17,000 and we're going to pay Aegis and Wisconsin County Mutual for that component that's
And they
there.
obviously know that.
Yep, they actually gave us those numbers. That was on the bid form.
Okay.
Yep.
So what they did then is they looked at what that was costing them, and they
Yeah,
could
well,
take it.
the way that we handled that is that there is actually a formula where they had to come up with that number. It wasn't something that they just dreamt up. It
okay.
identified how many man hours or labor hours they had on the project, and then there was a calculator to be able to get to that number. So Jarowski, we went over, I shouldn't say we, project manager Kurt Schleicher from my team met with them to make sure that all of their scope was included that we had intended to bid, and it was. The next step would be is if you do approve them today, we then give them the contract that was in the specs. They have to sign the agreement, and then they also have to provide the performance and payment bond. So all of that still has to take place. Nothing has been communicated with them about an award. Once you give us the green light to award, then we will get that contract to them. We will then follow up with the ODIP insurance. We'll do the same thing with their general liability insurance and their bid bond. And then after that, then we can actually start work. So our recommendation for the concrete is R.J. Jarowski. And then we'll go on to page 2. I think you want to just take.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Does that compare, did you have an individual number? You must have.
I do, yeah. So
So is that
Yep.
pretty comparable? Or we can-
our number was just real close to the Hanson number. It was about $600,000. So I had a complete number for you as to where we are. Collectively, between the concrete and the utilities and excavation, we're about 10 to 15% below budget. And then when we couple that with what we did with our demo, right now we're about $200,000 below our budget initially. Now, that's great news, but I also want to hesitate that bid pack 2 is the one that we just need to be prepared for. Of how do we strategize with that? So I'm glad we're under budget.
Question that ODIP, I guess I don't understand, and maybe I don't have to. Why is theirs so much higher than the others? Is that?
It's based on how many man hours that they've equated to the project, right? So sometimes the calculation of how they've done it One contractor will have more man-hours to get the same amount of time that's done, and it's
Okay.
based off of man-hours. So
Okay.
the way that Jarowski had calculated it, that's how they got to that number. So,
Okay.
yep.
I have a question.
Yep.
You finished that?
Yes, I am, sorry.
No, you didn't. I mean, I arrived late.
Okay.
What all is involved in the concrete?
Your mic.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. What all is involved in the concrete?
So the concrete is the footings and the foundation walls of the entire Justice Center. What is not included in the concrete is the flat work, the slabs, the site work, which would be curb and gutter, and the sidewalks that would be allocated in bid pack 2. So the reason that we only did footing and foundations at this point is that that's what the designers had completed, and that the balance of the slab and all of that will be part of bid pack 2.
Is there a basement under any part of the new addition or the new building? I mean, I was wondering what do those footings look like? So they're just, go ahead.
Majority of them are 4-foot frost walls. There are some deep foundation walls that are just north of this wing, because what happens is as you come out with a basement, you can't displace too much weight on the side of a foundation wall. So that when they come out of this portion of the project, they're deeper and then they step back up. There is a deeper part of the foundation that's in the master control area, because in the center of the pod, master control is elevated slightly, but then below it, it's about an 8 to 10 foot, I don't want to call it a pit. It's a
It's a pit.
it's a 8 to 10 foot deep area where the servers and the electronics equipment are located in that area, and then obviously your elevator pits are lower. But for the majority of your building here, it's frost walls. Yep.
And there won't, well, I know there's got to be a way of overcoming any problems, but there's got to be some difference in the stability of the ground between the open site and where the street is. And by the time you get done taking out the sewer and everything out of the street, you're gonna have everything.
Yep.
Everything's gonna be different consistency. I
Yep.
don't know what the technology is, but you know what I mean.
Yep, so here's how the specs work. The excavator, when they come in, they have bid on documents that identify what needs to be excavated for these footings to be bearing on, right? So there's an elevation, and then there is a requirement in regards to the soil makeup and content, as well as the compaction of what that needs to meet. So you're right. When you get out there right now, like the soil borings, if you look at the soil borings, they all differ in regards to what is the compaction of that soil and what's the makeup of the soil, right? Now, as they excavate, they have to excavate down to a certain depth to be able to meet the bottom of that footing elevation, and that soil below there needs to meet compaction requirements. Typically, it's 95% compaction, that they have to be able to meet that compaction. We will have a testing firm that will come in and do the testing to make sure that it's meeting the specs. But you're right, Tim, each area is going to be different. There is some areas where they may have to bring in some fill if there's unsuitable soils, so that's been identified in the soil borings. But there is also soil out there right now that's been identified that is suitable material that can be excavated and replace and compacted. So that will happen throughout the site. Yep.
And again, I know Doc's inquiring about the Jarowski bid is so much lower. They are meeting all your criteria.
Yes.
Whatever
Yep.
vetting process that you put these firms through.
Correct. And I do think that having somebody that's local there, you're seeing the benefit of that, of not have somebody come from a distance. It's also contractors that are looking to keep their people local, but also if they're looking for work, you're seeing a benefit there.
And that's a good PR to be able to hire someone local, too.
Absolutely.
If they see you're using local people,
Yep.
that's going to make people happy, I think.
Very important. Yep.
So
Okay.
is this?
I got one question.
Go ahead.
With this bid pack, you're doing just basically the foundation, the walls,
Yep.
kind of thing. Now, in bid pack 2, you're gonna do the flat work.
Yep.
Is that gonna be split between contractors, or is that going to be one contractor bid?
All of the flat work will be one contractor. Now, can it be a different contractor than this? Absolutely. Any one of these can bid on the flat work.
So
when
they'll
they
have
come
to
in.
rebid that project also?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Now, is this something we could act just on, these are separate actions?
Absolutely, yep. So our
Okay.
recommendation would be to award the concrete of bid pack 1 to RJ Jarowski. So if you wanted to take action on that and have me move on to the next one, we could. So,
Okay. Okay, so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion to award the concrete work to Jarowski, R.J. Jarowski? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
okay.
Okay?
So I want to take the next two pages combined because the way that we approached this was there was an excavation portion of the project, which means that someone could just bid on digging for the footings, clearing and grubbing the site, bringing in the topsoil, all of the earthwork that would need to be done, taking up the parking lot, taking up the street. They could have just bid just excavation. Or they could have combined the number with excavation and then utilities, which would be all of the sanitary and the storm and the water, all of the underground utilities. Now, these utilities only extend to the back of the curb or the right-of-way because we're still working on that street utility package, which is going to be in bid pack 2, okay? So on the second page, where you see the bid category says earthwork and utilities, we had two bidders that did a combination. One was Hague Contractors, the other one was Post D Excavating. You'll see the differences in their base bid. Hague was at $986 and Post D was at $719. You'll see the difference in the ODIP. Again, it's just a difference in man hours, which that's typically how you would see it. If it's a smaller amount, it's typically a smaller ODIP because it's less man hours. The front page tells me that there may be some calculations on some of those other contractors that isn't consistent because the concrete is much more labor intensive than an excavator, right, in regards to the cost. So the deduct after the ODIP, you'll see what the bid amount would be less the ODIP. So Post D would be at $714. If you want to turn to the second page, A1 Excavating bid just the utilities. So no excavating, just the utility. I mean, they would excavate to do the utilities, but it's the utility work and the excavating work with just utilities. Their number was $199.
And
Now,
the front page had both the excavating
Correct.
and the,
correct.
okay.
Yep.
Can
Yep.
you define what utilities entails?
Utilities would be all sanitary and storm piping, all water piping that would be done inside of the campus outline. So it would be from Hobson up to Dewey and then to the alley and over to Main Street, okay? Now, when we get into the street, now the Hobson work, all of those street utility work that's in there, that's a completely different package that's gonna be in bid pack 2, so.
Would the bidders on the second page still bid if we gave the other part to someone else?
There was that, yeah, there was the potential where they would just do their utility work and we'd have somebody else doing the excavation. And I've had projects where it's bid that way. That's why we broke that out, because there are some contractors that only do utilities.
Yeah, and you had said that.
They don't do building excavation, but then.
Do you have a breakdown then of the two on the front page, what
Yeah.
they would have charged for the?
I don't have a separation of utilities. That wasn't the breakout that we asked of them.
Okay.
It's combined. But I can tell you that you'll see that this number of $719 and Jarowski's number of $519, which gets us to, $1,250,000. Our budget for that work was just over $1.4 million. So combined, we've got about $150,000 of savings. And then coupled with the 50 grand that we had saved on our demo package, that's how I'm getting that 200 grand under budget.
Okay.
So,
So your recommendation, it would be to take the bidders that
Post
do
D,
both?
yeah. Post D was the one that did the demolition for us on the school. They did a great job. Coordination and safety was all in line. Yeah, they're local, so I think that's also another good component of that.
Yep. Well, Hague is actually pretty
Yes.
area too.
You had all local, a lot of, other than Fowler being, from La Crosse, and Hanson is from Owen, you had good local participation here, so.
Anyone else have any
Think they're trying to
questions?
No, I'm just, side conversation here.
So you would recommend then Post D?
Post D, yep,
So the back page is non-existent really
Correct.
then?
Correct.
Because there'd be no way to,
They just wanna do the
Utilities. And
Utilities,
we're
you know,
saying we have a combined
So
number.
you'd have to have two separate contractors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
I so move.
Okay, motion,
Second.
and we have a second to approve the bid from Posty Excavating for our earthwork and utilities. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding our bid to Posty Excavating signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Good,
So
that
you have all
was,
your bids.
that was pretty painless. Bid
Yes.
pack 2 is not going to be like that.
Oh.
You're gonna have a multitude of bid categories,
And then
so we break it down.
partials.
Yeah, we break it down very extensively, and then we really need to go through and do a scope review of bid pack 2, because it's gonna be a multitude of bidders that are there. But we had good bid coverage. I was expecting to have, 10 to 12 to 14 bidders. We had a handful of them, just before the bid, sent our project manager and said they didn't have time to put a number on it. There was quite a few of them that had actually done that, but I do think you got good bid coverage, you got good contractors here that are going to be able to give us a good project, and I would anticipate that after we work with them to get the contracts in place, get the insurance in place through the ODIP, that things should start to mobilize. You should start seeing equipment next week on the site, and you'll start to see some dirt getting moved. So,
And they were both available to start on the
Yep.
project immediately.
absolutely. Yep.
Kurt, on the second page, a contractor is plus 33, post D plus 33. What does that indicate?
Plus 33, that is the bid category for utilities. So bid category 31 was earthwork. So when Jaya put it on here, she just wanted to make sure that we clarified that utilities were included in that. So bid category 33 was in there as well. Sorry for the confusion on that.
Any other questions for Kurt? Okay,
All right, so the next thing that we had on the agenda was to go over some interiors. Because of the timing, Venture was going to do it virtually. I thought that it would be better if I just had a piece of paper in front of you rather than seeing it on the screen, and I would just kind of go over with you what we wanted to get out of this. So Venture is going to be on site tomorrow and Thursday for construction document review with all of the departments to make sure that the scope is aligning with what we've talked about through these design meetings for these many, many months. And then that bid pack 2, like I shared with you, is probably going to come out that first part of July. Probably going to give them a 3-week bid period, so we'll probably be having a bid date sometime towards, the end of July. But they wanted some feedback on the interiors, and I told them I would bring it to you, the property committee, to review. If you want to give it your blessing, or if you want to take it to the full board next week, I can present it to the full board. But they wanted to give you some images, and these are what they call renderings. So they have their computer-generated software give you something that's a little bit more lifelike and than just a two-dimensional. So this is what the concept is going to look like as you come in the main entrance. So I don't think that you're coming in from the parking lot, heading into the new facility. This is what you would see when you walk through the front doors. So at the left side is kind of the imagery that we've talked about, and they don't have the exact pictures, but the thought is on the left side there, we're going to hopefully take some of those photos that you have down the court corridor that talk about the history of Trempealeau County and integrate that into that left side of that lobby. The right side, which is actually, if you look out the windows there, that's the courtyard that is now the parking lot. That is going to become an internal courtyard that you'll see there. And then when you come through, the desk that's there is where the screening will take place. So the screening won't be immediately when you walk in the door. You're going to walk in, and there's going to be an area there for people to be able to get into a queue, and then the screening will take place at that point. So at that point, the officer that you have up front is where they would be able to direct traffic. And, as you look to the right, that's where the existing portion of the project would go behind them. If you go to the left, that's where the new Justice Center is to the left. So they're wanting kind of some feedback from you on, does this look like the finish level that you were expecting? Is it too high end? Does it fit the personality of Trempealeau County? So as we go through these, when we get done, I'll look for your feedback. So we'll just go page by page. The next one here, this is just, yep.
What are we seeing as we look directly through the open land behind the facility?
That's actually Quick Trip. So if
Okay.
you were to look straight
Dewey
through there,
Street?
yep, you would see Dewey Street on the backside there.
All right.
Yep.
And that, above the wording, that's the core.
Decora room, which would be the county boardroom. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The trees and stuff, is that some kind of a screen or divider or something?
There's actually glass that's up there. So that glass that's on the Decora room, they're looking at it being either a film or something that's gonna, you'll be able to see that there is someone in the room, but you won't be able to make out who they are. So it's more of a privacy perspective.
Is there a word for that? Is there a word?
To me, it's like a frost.
Yeah, frosted glass or imagery that's in the glass.
Normally see like in a restroom, so you can see something's there, but just not
Right.
got what it is.
Yep,
Or if someone was waiting for someone, they could see out
Yep.
and see them enter the courthouse.
right, yep.
I really like the, I know John mentioned, John Kane.
Yep.
Mentioned the field stone. I think that's a really nice touch, and in integrating the the historical pictures, the archive pictures, blowing them up like that, that's a nice touch. So I think it will look terrific.
Yep. Good.
One man's opinion.
Yep.
No, I agree.
That's what we're looking for, yep. So this second page is just kind of turning around and looking back out to the south. So picture that you're in the same location, and now you're looking back towards Hobson Street, and this is what that entrance is going to look like. To kind of give you an idea of the natural light that will come in. The concept there is that they want to be able to have that security guard or that officer that's at that post to be able to see if something's coming in that is dangerous at that point. So they will have the ability that if they need to, they can lock that door down so that someone can't get in. So there's security measures that are in place, but it's also being able to have that visual perspective to be able to see what's happening as someone's coming up from the parking lot.
Yes,
So-
if there's a problem in the parking lot, they
Yep.
could prevent entry.
They can shut the doors. Yep, absolutely. So the next page, if you can see that Quick Trip is behind you there. So if this is where, Dan had just asked if you're looking to the end of or the north side towards Dewey, this is a stairwell that'll actually take you up onto the second floor. You can see that Quick Trip is kind of through that glass there. And then this whole area would carry up as that kind of lobby vestibule area. So,
That's the stairway you can see in the first
yep,
photo? Okay.
yep. So then this is after you came up those stairs. So as you walked up those stairs, you get up to the second floor, and on the right-hand side would be Clerk of Courts. If you look straight ahead to the left, that doorway that's where child support would be. That'd be the child support door. And you can't see it, but where the gentleman is with the suit on the left, as you walked in the door there, that's where the Decora, we call it the Decora room, or it would be your county boardroom. And we're looking at options for that county boardroom to be kind of a multi-purpose, that when you're not meeting in there, they could either use it for jury assembly, or you could use it for other county meetings, committee meetings at that level. So that's kind of the imagery of what this is. And the concept that they have here is that there will be people that are either waiting for court, or just kind of an extended waiting room. We're going to have these screens that you see on the wall. We'll be able to be kind of like at an airport, where they'll show what's court's in session, where is your hearing, so that these individuals can be there and they're not all congregated in the corridor that's in front of the courts. They put the carpet in here with hard surface flooring around that, so that you get some acoustical performance, so it's not real echoey in there. But they've done a lot with the imagery here, so. This is the same space, just looking back, so you can see the guy in the suits on the right-hand side, and you're looking back to the north now. So you can see the screens that would be there in that waiting room, and then behind that glass that's on the other side there would be the Clerk of Courts waiting area. Next page. This is the county boardroom, Decora room, second floor conference room, whatever you would want to talk, whatever you want to call it. That frosted glass that we talked about, that's that area right there where you could see down onto the main entrance there in the vestibule. But this is what that room would look like. Right now, they're working on the AV and the data performance for that room. We want it to be flexible, but we also want to be able to make sure that things are recorded with your TV studio, those sorts of things, so that stuff is all in the works. It's not finalized by any means, but we've had some of those initial discussions as to how that's going to perform.
So this would be a process, we'd have to come up with a plan, but we could actually rent this out to someone if someone wanted to have meetings.
There's a potential. Right now, the security level of how deep do you want the public to get into the building after hours has been discussed. And they're actually talking about that, you'd get into the waiting room by clerk of courts, but you wouldn't get any further into the court suite. So there is a potential where that could be an option. We've also talked about that with the EOC, or the meeting room that's kind of just below this in the sheriff's department, which is the EOC, but it's a larger space that could be used for some public meetings as well.
Because that would be a nice thing to have
Yep.
a place to hold public meetings.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. This is same, excuse me, this is the same room, just looking back to the north. So you'll see that there's that doorway. If you would come up those steps where that gentleman was, just imagine that you come up those steps and then you would walk into that county boardroom. Now, they're showing this table layout here. We want the table layout to be flexible, but you may just have it set up in a U shape for your county boards if you want to, or you may have it like this as a county board. You could have it set up as just a different configuration, but there'll be floor boxes and data outlets in the floor, so that there will be flexibility for the use of that room, that it's not just one specific.
So those tables are not permanent?
No. Right there, we're showing that they're flexible. Obviously, the counter in the back is permanent, where you would have availability to have your water and sink there, and snacks of some sort or whatever you decide to use there. So,
What's this door right behind the counter with the little?
that they actually have for the storage of those chairs,
Okay.
and not the chairs, but the tables that some of them can fold. What else were they going to store in there? There was.
Maybe you're looking at TV studio for one side.
Oh, yeah. One side was for TV studio. Yep, you're right.
And then one for storage of the.
Yep. Yep.
At least that's what it's.
Yep. So now this is coming out of that, that waiting room that's by clerk of courts. And now here you're looking west down the corridor into the courts suite. So you can see that they've got numbered by each one of those courtrooms. So that court number 1 would be where the family court commissioner would be. That's not a juried courtroom. 2 and 3 are the 2 that are the juried courtrooms. But being able to give an entrance or a denotation of where that court entrance is for each one of them, kind of give you a feel for what that's going to look like with the lighting and the imagery there. I think Ventures did a good job of it looking not overly fancy, but it still gives it a very a solid professional look. So this is just walking down the corridor a little bit further. We're closer to number 2 and get a feel for what's there. As you see the gentleman that's sitting in the chair there are some small alcoves that are in front of the courtroom 2 and 3 to be able to give a little waiting. I think we have like 10 chairs in each one of them, and then the overflow would be in that bigger waiting area that's down by the clerk of court space. Let's get you an idea of what that would look like for the courtroom entrance. There'll be some signage there that identifies that, whether court is in session, and then we're going to have the screens that were down at the clerk of courts will be right in front of the courtroom, so that somebody comes down, they'll say, here's the what's in session, where is my hearing in the order of the schedule for the day. So
Pictures on the wall, that could be historical things
Oh,
in
yeah.
the county again?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Now, this is a courtroom. You can see from the perspective of the bench, and they're still working on that configuration. I don't know that this has been officially finalized, but you can see the layout of the courtroom space. They've done a lot to be able to deal with the acoustics of the room, so they actually have an acoustical engineer because there's been some concern as to the noise in the courtroom. So they've got somebody who's actually doing an engineer based on material selection. What are we doing for the floor plank? What are we doing for just the overall structure to minimize the noise disruptions that would happen in the courtroom? Next one is just another shot of
Okay,
what.
but just back that one. The object on the wall that he's looking at, is that an electronic, like, order where you could put what's being done next in the courtroom? Or,
Are you back on the corridor yet?
yeah, but right by 2, where it says number 2.
Yep, that would just be like a TV monitor that would show the
Okay,
schedule
and
that's there.
it could be updated electronically.
Yeah, actually what they're doing is they'll have the courts will put the schedule actually on there at the beginning of the day to be able to update what's happening on those components.
So if someone came up,
Yep.
when is my whatever
Yep.
taking place? Okay, good.
Absolutely, yep.
And that's, you don't have to do it, putting things up on a bulletin board or anything.
Right. I'm just going over the drawings now.
It's like you said, it's like the airport.
Yep.
Walk around with it.
You did the bids on it.
Yes, we did. So, back to the ones with give you the views of the court. It kind of gives you a feel or a flavor. You see the jury boxes off to the side there. They've got 2 different size courtrooms. One is a little larger than the other to deal with COVID-related jury, so you wouldn't have to stop. We could still have the spacing required for jury in one, and that's been implemented into the project. The second one there just kind of gives you a different angle of what that looks like into that jury box and what's going to happen in the wall of the court. And then the next one where it says jail visitor lobby, this entrance is the separate entrance. So if you pull into the parking lot off of Hobson, you're going to have your main entrance that's on the northeast corner of the parking lot. And then on the very northwest corner, there is a jail entrance where people that are just going in to jail to do visitation, to be able to come and see individuals and to take care of jail business would just go into the jail area. So they would walk in and then there's just going to be a small waiting room. They won't go any deeper than that. They won't get into the jail. There's a level of security where the secure perimeter, but that gives you an idea of what that entrance would look like into the jail. And then this is the lobby space that, looking back at that entrance where they would get into that jail entrance. So they wanted to give you these renderings to kind of get an idea of color and materials. I think they've done a good job, so you know the behind the scenes. I have seen several of these, and we've put budgets to them, and we've had to pull some stuff out to keep the budget down. So it's been a good work between Venture and our team to be able to make sure that we do something that's cost effective but still gives the appearance that we feel fits the personality of Trempealeau County, and kind of wanted to know, do you guys agree with it? Is there something you should change or something that you think should be added that isn't in there?
I do think you should bring it before, they actually do the same thing with paper.
Okay.
For the whole board.
Okay.
Keep the whole board involved and everybody. I mean, it's really exciting to look at these, to be
Yep.
honest with you.
Yep.
So it keep everybody excited and involved.
Okay. I plan to be at the next board meeting, so I can bring copies for everyone and take this amount of time. And I think we probably spent 15 minutes going over it, so it's not like
actually
it
easier to
was.
see this than to try to see
Yep.
it on the screen. Of course, the public can't, but
Yep.
the board members it is.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that if you'd like me to.
I've got one more question. Where did the quote come from?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The very first page, there's a quote.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Ask
That's
Mr. King, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'll find out.
I think we need an attribution there. We need, oh, okay.
That's a great question. I'll have to ask. Yep. I didn't even catch it, so. All right. I think that's all I had for you, unless there's something
Okay.
else you needed.
Any other questions for Kurt?
Thanks for making the special meeting, and we're probably gonna have to do it in July again, or maybe just hold off on your July meeting until we have a bid opening. It's up to you, however you wanna do that. But I will not have bids for you, for bid pack 1, or I'm sorry, bid pack 2, when you have your regularly scheduled meeting. It's probably gonna be closer to the end of July. So it's up to you. We can do another special meeting then, or?
Another meeting at the end of July.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking we'll have to do.
And you said that one would be a little more intense.
It's gonna be, yeah.
It might be worth a special meeting.
Might be worth, I agree with you. Because otherwise we sit here all morning and,
Okay. Sounds good. That's all I have. Thank you.
okay.
That was easy.
Anybody else have anything to discuss? Simple
I think
enough.
Jeremy's on the agenda too, to talk about.
Okay,
RFP, so.
Jeremy, yep, you. Ready?
Go to me now?
Yep,
You skip
you're
it
ready.
for?
You're gonna skip number
It's
4
not
anyway.
5, right? So,
What's happening with number 4?
Well, Rick wrote me the resolution that I was gonna bring down today for you guys, but he just has it that exec finance has to act on it, doesn't have to be property.
Okay, so it's not.
So it doesn't, drop it, I
Not
guess.
applicable.
Yep.
Okay.
So it'll come up at exec finance next month?
Okay, so we'll talk about that with the board in July. I won't talk about it next week.
This is the ending of it, because I think the way he wrote it was at the end of design.
Did I give you an update? I forget,
Oh,
did I
wait,
talk to
no,
you?
he hasn't given me, I got the wrong resolution. Stop, I don't even know, because I don't have a resolution. He didn't give me one.
So what we did is we did follow up with Rick after our meeting on Thursday to ask about the Building Oversight Committee and just dissolving that and bringing it back to property. We do need the Building Oversight Committee to stay through bid intact through when Bid Pack 2 goes out, because in order to comply with the Supreme Court rules, it needs to stay. So if it still happened in our July meeting, we're still in compliance with it, so there is no big rush on it. But it will require board action because the board did take a resolution to put it, and rather than us circumventing that, that's kind of the intent of it. So, sounds good, thank you.
Okay, Jeremy?
so first, Kurt, did you guys get an update, anything yet for the closure of Park Street?
Oh,
yet?
yes. We did have the engineers got back to Ashley that the utilities that were in there did not need a release, so they're moving forward with that vacation process. So you're going to see it in the paper, I think, upcoming, but we're still probably looking at middle of July before it's going to take place. Middle of July to end July before that whole thing is done.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yep.
So the only thing that I really have is I don't have an update from last week. So Tim, I'll just kind of fill you in since you weren't here. So we're looking at the area outside of Paul's office. There's the lawn and a few trees down on the southeastern side of the lot there. Turning that into a parking lot for county vehicles in the future, the trucks, the land management vehicles and stuff like that, but then to help offset parking issue that we're gonna have when we start closing stuff off here. I've
Just let
called-
me interrupt, just so you know that not only will the street be closed, but the parking lot in the back will also be shut down.
Come mid-July, we're gonna lose, Park Street and the parking lot all at the same time. I reached out to multiple blacktop vendors, and again, I've only received the one price from Monarch Paving, which was at $135,000 to remove everything that's there, put a temporary parking lot in, which would consist of dirt and pea gravel until the utility work was completed, and then come back later in the fall to put blacktop down. Since I only still have one price, the cost of that price, I'm still waiting now on, I spoke to Al from the Highway Department last week, and he's supposed to have gotten back to me early this week, and I haven't heard from him yet this morning. So I'll reach out to him again today, because that way I get a price from the Highway Committee, or the Highway Department as well. So I at least have two bids that I can present. As it sits right now, though, like I said, we still have, when I did work with Paul, I do have a certain amount of money that's been carried over, not allocated for this, but carried over, but I won't have enough. So I'll have roughly, and again, this is not a hard number, but let's say about 100,000, give or take 20,000 from that. So once I get a hard number, because some of that I'm spending on something else now. So probably by next property meeting, I hope to have two prices, the exact number of what I have, and then the exact number of what I'm going to be asking the county for to help cover that. And then it will be property's choice at that point to either let me have the money and move me over to exec finance or something else at that point. I did talk to a few of the department heads about the parking situation, the ones that have the vehicles outside, and one department is concerned So I'm going to reach back out to the city again. I don't think we're going to be able to get it, but they want more of a reserved parking. But I did explain to them that it's a public parking lot. It's a little bit more difficult to reserve a spot constantly because they're just concerned that when, let's say, their department leaves in the morning, when they come back in the afternoon, especially when we lose a bit of parking, that they're not going to have anywhere to park when they come back. There's not a lot I can do with that at the moment, and I understand the frustration that even if, you know, Dan's the one that uses the car in the morning, but Paul's the one that wants it in the afternoon, how are they going to know where Dan parked in the morning? Best I could tell them right now is, you know, just use the horn button on the thing and they'll find it. So the time constraint of people looking for the cars, the distance that they're going to have to go, mostly because when the parking lot closes, the two back entrances close as well. It's something I'm addressing with them. There's not a lot of workaround that we have at the moment, other than this particular project. But since I only have one bid, I don't feel comfortable trying to allocate any money for this right now until I have something to compare it to.
Go ahead, Dan.
Are you talking about the area from the sheriff's department parking lot around the corner to the sidewalk that goes in the main entrance?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So it would
How
be-
many parking spots would be available in that area?
As it sits right now, I think I was adding, it would add 23, but that's including 2 handicap spots, which would technically be 2 spots. Then we'd be losing 4 that run from the dumpster to Hobson Street, because they'd still pull into the
Yeah.
sheriff's lot and then go through that way. When this whole project is completed, we could lose the handicap spots that are over there, and then we'd end up gaining 4 more spots. And then that's where the county vehicles could park, all of the health department cars, the land management trucks, and the human services vehicles. Because I'm not exactly sure, as it sits right now, how many parking spots we're going to have in the new complex in the horseshoe area. But let's say if we even have, let's say 40 is a low number, I think, but let's say if we only have 40 spots in there, and I have 18 county vehicles that are gonna be parked in there permanently, that's, you know, almost 50% of the lot that's gonna be dedicated to vehicles that are here in a good portion of time. So,
If you don't get another number, you know, in the next week or so, let us know, because of post D on here, I could have them give you a price to do the same thing, to take topsoil out, get base course in there.
yeah, to
And
do
if
at
you-
least the prep work before the
Yep.
blacktop, so.
And if you don't get a blacktop number, we could actually have that as an alternate, that the bidders that bid the asphalt here could give you and break it out, then you have a comparable.
Okay, yeah, because Monarch is the one that gave, where it was one of the ones that came out and gave you guys a price, but
Yep.
everyone, like I said, the timing of this project for me reaching out to people was, for a small project, a bad time of year to do it.
Yep.
If I would've reached out to them in the fall or in the winter, and got on their schedule a little bit earlier, but, you know, for a bigger project, you're gonna get more people to come out and look at it. But mind you, this isn't a cheap project at $130,000, but, you know, they're gonna take a $500,000 job over mine for scheduling, so, but I'll keep you posted too for that.
Yeah,
'cause-
because we could just have them give you a number, and that way you have a comparable.
Yep, and then, like I said, that was removing all of the trees. So when I get it all set forth, I'll present it to you guys with the removal of all the trees or the leaving of the one big tree. Because I know we did get a bunch of concern when I removed the dead trees in the front of the building, let alone taking the huge live tree that's there too, so.
Yeah, God forbid we awaken the Save the Tree ladies.
So I will, I'll have that all presented in something that,
I'm gonna hug a tree.
that you can actually hold in your hand, so. But I have no updates right now, other than I'll update you again at the next property meeting.
So this parking lot will remain there when construction is completed?
That is correct.
As a place to park county vehicles?
Correct.
That will be
Yeah,
the
it
new
will,
spot?
it will just take the existing sheriff's parking lot and extend that one. And
that will
then
be
that,
the-
since that won't be the sheriff's department anymore, that's, as it sits right now, potentially, I think land management is gonna be taking over the sheriff's department, at least on the last plan that I seen.
Chainsaw in the middle of the night.
But then the rest of the departments can still have their vehicles there in one spot. So that's what I'm hoping for. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then once, I'll have the pictures and everything drawn out for you next month, though. So.
Okay.
I've got another
Go ahead,
question.
Tim.
Jeremy, don't you have some money available? We allocated money, I believe, for to correct the drainage in that part of the building, to tear out concrete or put in concrete or
I
something?
replaced the sidewalks. That's included.
Drainage thing.
That was the drainage issue on the
That's
south
already
side.
done?
I've already completed that, and I'm already counting the money that I didn't spend from that project in the money that I have carried
Would we be
over
tearing
from
that
other
concrete
projects.
out then to do this?
I would not be,
Oh,
no.
that's brand new concrete.
No, I would not be tearing that.
That was my point.
I would not be tearing that out.
We allocated $20,000 for that, and I think it only came in at 12.
Seven.
Like
I got
7?
12 left.
Yeah,
Um,
12 left, that's what it was.
As it sits right now, there's two entrances to the sheriff's lot. We would utilize those. So when you pull into the easternmost one, you would just, turn right and then go by the dumpster that's there. There's already 4 parking spots there, those would go away. And then that would just be a pass-through into the grass area that is now. Again, I'll have pictures to explain it a little bit better, but, yeah, so that was a project. And there's various other, like I said, funds from things that I didn't have left over, and then things that I haven't spent yet, which we brought up the Veterans Office. I had some money allocated for that for a remodel this year that we're holding off on at the moment, so I need to go to exec finance if this was approved to get it, the verbiage changed on what that money was for. And then, like I said, carryover from various projects and extra money from the front door security remodel. There's 12 grand for right now for a heater for the sheriff's garage, which I'm actually spending 7 of that this week. And then carryover from the sidewalk, and then stuff that's in my account, but it's contingency and a few other things that are,
I have to go back and find out what that contingency was, because I think maybe even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
we probably lumped it all together, and that's why.
and then it's
hanging.
just sitting there. So
Yep.
at least the auditors are here now going through all that. That gives me another few weeks to get my price and then sit down with Paul again to make sure what is feasible for me to actually pull from. So I have an amount of how much money I actually have to spend towards this, but I'd prefer not to spend any of this money on this, but, it is what it is, but.
Go ahead, Dan.
I kind of feel like I just crawled out from underneath a rock, but I'm assuming this is the only option we've located for parking, because, again, crawling out from under a rock, 135,000 seems a tad high.
Well, and
Especially when his first one was what?
let's say about 3 or 4 years ago, I presented it to property at budget time. It was only $40,000 to
Yeah,
do this
it
project.
comes out to a little over $5,800 a spot.
That's why I'm looking for more prices. Unfortunately, I know that the highway department's hourly rate is not the cheapest either, so I don't think the price I'm gonna get from them is going to blow this one out of the water one way or the other. Well, it might blow it higher out of the water, but,
Yeah,
again, that's why I said.
That's territory I don't want to go to, because, it's all county money and it's all county labor. Why they jab us like that, they always say the same thing, state makes us do it. Anyway, let's not go there.
Just be glad they don't do prevailing wage. That's even higher.
Yeah.
So once I get their number, then I'll reach back out to Kurt and we'll see what we can do, and maybe I'll have more numbers that I can go with at that point. But yeah, like I said, there's not a lot of other options that we've seen for parking. There is the shared lot across the street, which we are now going to eat up 18 of those spots with county vehicles once the lot closes. There is the lot by the bank, by the gazebo area across the street that's got some public parking in it. There's the dirt next to the railroad station that's across the street, but only that, we can only still eat up a portion of that because some of that is city parking, some of it is Subway, Pank Chiropractic.
Yeah, there's a lot next to the Farnham House too, but I know who owns that, and that probably wouldn't be cheap.
Well, and then that's still a lot of street parking, which is why I had to reach out to the city about this parking lot, because I didn't want to get ticketed or
That's,
towed
Greg's still
with the
right.
county vehicles being left in the public lot overnight or on the weekends or holidays. So
Beaverville.
as it sits now, the city, the police department, and the city workers know what the vehicles are. Like I said, the only concession that had to be made was anywhere that there is a county vehicle that's left there during a snowstorm, my department will be responsible to plow those portions of the parking lot, which also is not gonna be the best if I've got 18 cars scattered all over the parking lot. But, it's better than parking it in the front of the building. They get completely plowed in by the bigger trucks, so.
We did send an email over to the railroad CN. We got the direction from the city that there might be some spaces available. We haven't heard back from them yet, but we'll find. I think Jeremy's given us a couple options for other remote parking that we're looking at during construction. I'm not saying that that solves this issue, but during
Yeah.
construction, there will be more traffic around here from just tradespeople and those sorts of things, so.
Yeah, trying to find parking for the tradespeople as opposed to the employees having them walk a distance, so.
Good, Randy.
Does anybody talk to the hospital up here because they've got that addition going on? Is that gonna affect their parking? Is that
From what
gonna-
I've been told, it's supposed to start in September. I don't know from the extent of what that does to the lot, but it's obviously more people there, and, taking away from their space will impact it. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a question, are they gonna wanna use the church parking lot also?
We've already had that discussion with the church. I think we're okay.
We're okay with them?
I need to get Jeremy and Tad from our field guide to just have a meeting to confirm the process of that, but yeah.
Yeah, and that one again, for the church parking lot is as available.
As available. Their functions are a priority, which we know, but it does give us a little flexibility, so.
So they'll notify you if they have a funeral or something during the week, and then you'll have to accommodate.
That's what we're gonna work on.
That's-
We don't
that's-
have those details worked out yet.
That's the understanding going forward, that's what it
Right.
will be, so.
Okay.
And then, yeah, with the hospital, I've received the same information. It's September/October is when their stuff starts. And it does start in their employee parking lot, which is behind the hospital, which will end up being closed like our back one here too, so.
Ironic, ain't it?
It's just gonna be an
Who'd
adventure.
have thunk it?
Yeah, who'd have thunk it?
I'm happy. I only live a block away, so it's fine.
You don't
It
care.
doesn't concern me at all, on the
Two
slightest.
major projects going at the same time.
Yeah, maybe you ought to rent out parking
That too.
spots
I
in
can
your
rent out
yard.
2 spots in my driveway, so. I'll
I'm
move
gonna have some
those
parking
permit
available
parking
at
only
the
spots into
Cut
my
Green.
driveway and call it good, so.
Come on, $10 like a football game?
Yeah,
$10
I think I can get like 5 or 6 vehicles in the lot across the street from my house.
Yep, okay, well, I think we're finished.
Yeah.
Take that whole street almost.
Okay, anything else then? Okay, if not, we will adjourn our meeting at 9:53? 9.
Yep.
Okay.
Has anybody thought to offer the city $100,000 for the Melby?